Let me just go one by one in detail, trying to make you understand. So starting with the unit 1, we're going to learn about some of the basic concepts of business decision theory, where India has been trying to excel itself in different lines and different angles altogether. The utilization of resources, the utilization of time and other factors that has helped them to build better industries. Good morning and welcome to the introductory session on Business Decision Theories, second semester B.B.A. It's a very interesting topic, so let's just go further and try to understand what has the subject got for us from the University of Mysore. Now, starting here, we have 5 units in this particular subject. Now, even before we start exploring what is business decision theory and how it really matters in terms of growth, in terms of understanding, this is a very excellent subject. Why? Because it is going to deal with our country economy. It's going to talk about our day-to-day situation, as in how we need to understand the economy, how we need to understand the supply and demand functions, and that's all the subject is all about. So starting with the unit 1, we're going to learn about some of the basic concepts of business decision theory and the demand analysis, a very important chapter, followed by the national income. This is becoming a very interesting and important topic in the modern days today, followed by the market structure. Most of us know that markets behave in a particular manner, but what is the reason behind that behavior? We are going to see here. Consumer behavior, that's also an important topic here, followed by the cost analysis. So these are the important topics for the day. These are the topics that are going to govern in terms of understanding how the business decision theory is going to be learned by us. Now, moving further, let me just go one by one in detail, trying to make you understand the need and importance of business decision theory. Now, starting with the decision theory is an interdisciplinary approach that is actually used to arrive at decisions needed for the business to be taken in order to make the operations and the objectives come out successful. So when we talk about this business decision theory, this is more about a descriptive method. It's a normative method. It's a methodology that is being used like a step-by-step analysis to find out how the business can improve. Now, let's say, for example, I run a restaurant business. I need to understand my demand, my supply functions, how to target the required set of customers, how to improve my profit, how to calculate the longevity of my business, how to take things forward, what kind of structured decisions are to be taken. All these factors have to be looked over here. So this is going to be a very interesting chapter where we are going to take it like a case format, trying to understand each and every minute function of the business. To add on, the most important thing that we are facing today is the uncertainty in the environment. Now, the uncertainty might be due to a pandemic or due to any other economic forces that are acting in our environment. But definitely, the uncertainty is making people even more uncomfortable. They suddenly feel that they need to come up with a very good strategy that could help them to recover back. So in context to all these parameters, the University of Mysore has designed this particular syllabus where they want us to understand the context and nature of the business. So economy and business are not going to be segregated. They're not going to be separately viewed, but these are going to be the basic parameters where we are going to understand about how the demand is created, what are all the different factors of the market, and how we need to take it forward. Followed by the national income. National income means the value of goods and services produced by a country during a financial year. Now, for every Indian, our country is so vast, wide, and it has got so much of diversity that it is very difficult to understand in one straight line. India has been a country which is known for its economic diversity, economic prowess, and its capacity to produce way beyond the requirement. Today, India is the second largest, in fact, I would say the first largest country in the world, which is going to rise as the economic superpower in the coming years. We have seen several sunrise sectors. We have seen several areas where India has been trying to excel itself in different lines, in different angles altogether. But what is happening is that at a long run, people are trying to ask this question again and again, like what is the total value of goods that is being produced by our country? So in order to arrive at a value here, we use this technique called as the national income. So the national income will be able to measure and tell you perfectly what is the total value of goods that is being produced in your country. So this is definitely going to be a very exciting chapter, which is going to talk about the need, the necessity of how these values are coming into picture and how do we need to tackle them. Because most of the economic activities as we are speaking today, they are something which are quite easier in terms of manipulating, easier in terms of just speaking it out, or easier in terms when we just go through the television channels and the social media. But what are those real terms? Say, for example, when people talk about a GDP or a GNP, or when people talk about NDP, NNP, factor cost, market price, these are all new terms for you which needs to be understood in depth, in detail, so that you will be able to appreciate the concept of national income accounting. And that's exactly what this chapter will tend to do for us. It will make us understand each and every factor of the economy and take us together in the journey of business decision theory. Moving further, the market structure. Market structure in economics refers to how the different industries are classified, differentiated based on the degree, nature of competition, goods and services altogether. We all know that there are different kinds of market. Now, when I say market, that doesn't mean the physical market, but it talks about the characteristics of market. So when we talk about markets like monopoly-based market, when we talk about markets like the oligopoly, monopolistic, duopoly, there are different structures of market. But why is this structure of market important for us? Because one may ask this question, sir, I am more interested in just running the business and earning profit. I am not interested in understanding the economics of the market. But in reality, let's first get on to this picture saying that unless and until you know the structure of the market, you know at what levels you are playing inside the market, you will not be able to make profit. Now, for example, in India, if I would have opted myself to compete against the Indian Railways in the transport sector, it would have been almost impossible. Why? Because we always considered Indian Railways as a monopoly when it comes to the rail transportation sector. So similarly, you need to understand the sector and the kind of markets that is acting on that particular sector. So when you enter into the market, you need to be doubly sure about this factor. What kind of markets are we trying to govern inside? Because if the markets are free enough, flexible enough, adjustable enough, allowing you to come in, find out, innovate, and then start moving further, then that means the market structure is really helping you to grow. So with all these concepts, with all these theories in the mind, we are going to go into this particular chapter trying to understand the importance, the nature and scope of each and every market structure and how they decide on the fate of the companies, the nation and the upcoming economic scenarios. Now, moving further, let's talk about consumer behavior. Who is a consumer and how does a consumer behave? Now, this is a very, very fantastic question. Why? Because it is none other than we. We are the consumers. We are the people who consume each and every good that is being produced in the market. The consumer behavior is not just a marketing philosophy or a concept. It is more of an economic concept. Why? Because there are two important players in the economy. The one is the producer, the other one is the consumer. Now, for a consumer, he decides exactly what he wants to consume. He is not a person who can be forced upon by the producer saying that you need to consume this. For the consumer, it is a matter of importance, it's a matter of taste, it's a matter of choice rather than anything else. So for the consumer, he decides, he goes back and claims in the market saying that this is what exactly I want. This is the kind of feature, this is the kind of price, this is the nature of the product which I'm looking for. So for the producer, it is all about the consumer. And for the consumer, it is all about looking at the producer who's capable of satisfying his needs and wants. So in that context, when we talk about ideas, goods, services, trying to satisfy each other, this chapter becomes very important and interesting also. So in business decision theory, we will try to dissect that customer into the last detailed part so that we try to understand how exactly a consumer behavior starts influencing the market to the last level as far as possible. Now, there are times when you will be trying to understand that when you walk into a shop or when you walk into a mall, is that I am going to be looked upon? Is that I'm going to be checked upon in terms of my buying behavior? The answer is absolutely yes. Why? Because every company today wants to understand about the consumer. So in that context, the actions that are being taken up by the consumer in a marketplace is definitely going to be looked upon and that is going to be valued. Now, moving further, cost analysis. The subject and the topic is very, very interesting and easy also. But then cost analysis is not so easy as said. Why? Because cost analysis is not just about adding of number, but it is all about comparative analysis. So when you go today to your company and say that the cost of doing a particular process or executing a particular model is, let's say, X rupees, the company does not want to believe you immediately. Why? Because there is a comparative analysis. People ask you for the best price. People always ask you for a better method. And people always ask you for a cost-effective approach, which can help them to understand the process even more in a better manner. So cost analysis is all about you and me trying to understand how we can reduce the cost of each and every item, each and every process, each and every method that is being discussed inside a company. Now, for example, when we especially talk about the word called as operations, we try to look into the controllable and the non-controllable factors. There are several things inside an organization which might be under your system, under your control or process, and there are certain things which are not in our hands. So automatically, cost becomes an addition of both these factors. So when you do a cost analysis, when you do an effective analysis to find out how I can improvise on my operation, how I can deliver better value to the system, that means I need to do a complete analysis. I need to undergo the complete systematic process of seeing how we can reduce the cost, how we can remove the constraints, and how we can make the process even more effective. So that's why I would always say that cost analysis is a very important chapter when it comes to business decision theory, and that will help us to understand the business even more better. Now, moving further, with this, after the syllabus is done, let me give a very brief idea about the class planner. In the class, we have decided to have case studies, and I have also decided to have exclusive classes only for graphs and for the problems to be solved. Now, why is these two important? When I talk about business decision theory, there are several case studies, small as well as big case studies, which talk about the utilization of resources, the utilization of time and other factors that has helped them to build better industries. So definitely case studies is going to be a part of our class plan that will help you to effectively understand business decision theory. Number two, I would also like to say here is that once we start trying to understand the graphs, most of the time people feel that graphs are very, very difficult in economics. Let me just tell you, graphs is not that difficult. Why? Because it's very easy for each one of us to understand how to take it forward and build it across. So graph is going to be a very, very easier factor which we are going to spend time in terms of understanding how it is going to work, where we need to spend time, and how to construct a graph altogether. So these are some of the class exercises, apart from which we will have some sort of viva presentations so that we can make the class even more effective. Followed by the internals, which is a very, very crucial part of this journey. The internals is going to be for 20 marks. That's very, very important here. But how am I going to score the internals? Now, the first internals will be Introduction to Business Decision Theory and National Income. Second is Market Structure and Consumer Behavior. And for the third internals, we have the cost analysis. The most important point to note here is that final marks will be awarded on the average of 3 internals. So it is not going to be 1 internals or 2. You need to write all the 3 internals and an average will be taken. So the first internal mark plus the second internal marks plus the third internal marks divided by 3. That will be giving you your final internal score. So my kind request to all of you is that please do take your internals seriously, do attend it and score your very best. You will be definitely be able to get that 20 marks. Now, the question paper pattern, part A will be for 5 into 420, part B is 15 into 230, and part C is 10 into 330. So the total marks is an 80 marks paper. This is a 3 hours full length paper. So you will be writing this examination for 80 marks. That's a very simple paper. Is it possible for me to score a full on this paper? Definitely yes, provided you have spent time in terms of reading, understanding the classes, going through the sessions and working out the necessary important questions, then automatically you will be able to score the complete 80 marks in this paper. Followed by, let me talk about the books for reference. The business decision theory, you have a book by B.S. Raman. That author is very good, and as well as the book is also very good. This book would be more than enough from the Mysuru University standpoint. I would suggest all of you to please buy the textbook as early as possible. Followed by the chapter-wise allotments of mark. So we start with Unit 1, which is 15 marks. As I have always seen that Unit 1, you get 15 marks coming in from that. From the second unit, you have about 30 marks coming in because a lot of important questions there. The Unit 3 is for 10 marks, Unit 4 is for 25 marks, and Unit 5 is for 15 marks. Now, this breakup is only to make you understand the importance of the chapter. It doesn't mean that you have to skip the chapters and learn. Please do follow a systematic routine in terms of covering up all the units regularly, steadily, so that you are able to get all the marks on time. So you'll be able to score the full marks. Followed by the learning outcome. The learning outcome of this particular subject called as business decision theory will help you to first understand foundations of demand analysis, why there is demand and how demand really matters when it comes to your business. So demand analysis is going to be a very, very interesting and an important topic, followed by consumer behavior. As I have told you, without consumer, there is no market. So consumer is always going to be there at the back of your mind, trying to make you understand his need, his importance, and why he is there always in the markets, followed by the relationship between national income and the economy. Many a times, people still do not understand the concepts, the formulas, the methods, but this time we are going to make a successful effort and attempt in terms of understanding, and this is going to be quite interesting in terms of calculating the national income. Finally, we are also going to understand about the fundamentals of market structure. As I have told you, there are multiple kinds of market structure. Each one of these structure is very, very important for all of us to understand and take it forward, and the benefits and factors of cost analysis. So these are the main factors that we are going to learn through this particular subject called as the business decision theories. With this, I come to the end of today's session. I hope and believe that all the resources shared here will be of a great help and of a future benefit to you. In the upcoming sessions, we are going to start with the respective units and chapters, trying to make an attempt in terms of understanding the concepts and the practical part of the business decision theory. Until then, stay tuned, stay blessed, and stay enlightened forever. Thank you once again for joining me today on this wonderful session.